Hi, I'm Andrea. Thank you so much for joining me for this 30-minute yoga practice. I'm standing on a yoga mat. If you don't have one, just find a carpeted area, something that's not too slippery, and you'll be fine. A chair is never a bad thing to have. Actually, a chair is a very important thing, I think, to have today, because I'm going to give you some specific instruction for a pose using the seat of your chair. But you could also use the armrest of your couch, something a bit taller than our blocks. So if you don't have blocks, sturdy books would be fine. Not for this one thing that we're going to do today, but for most things. And also a folded blanket. Could be the throw blanket from your couch, or maybe your beach towel folded up. I've also got a sleeping dog. If you don't have one, maybe you have a cat or a grandchild or someone who's joining you. I'm hoping that this will be the status of the dog pose for the rest of our practice together. We shall see. It's part of the fun of being live. Now stand in our mountain pose with your feet hip distance, and if you are standing on a mat, let it be that you're facing the long edge of your mat. I'm going to keep facing you. I'll adjust myself so that you can see me, and you can just do what you need to do, and we'll land in the majesty of our mountain. Turn your palms away from each other and feel how that uplifts your heart, smiles your collarbones. There's a little softness to your knees, a little soft bend. Chin parallel to the ground. Think of gazing at our bright horizon. Drop into the awareness of your breath. If you can, let both the inhale and the exhale come through your nose. And if you can't, that's fine. All I ask is that you bring awareness to your breath, no matter how it is that you breathe. Now, right away, out of the gate, we're going to step wide. So take your arms out wide, thumbs to the sky, and measure basically ankles underneath your wrists. Then turn your heels in and your toes out, not radically, so you're not trying to turn them all the way to the side. Let them be at a bit of a diagonal. And then bend your knees like we're kind of trying it on for size, like a little plie or a squat. Straighten your arms, float your arms alongside you, and turn the palms out like we did in our mountain pose, but with a wider stance. We'll do that again. Bend your knees, thumbs to the sky, straighten your legs. Let's see if we can assign an inhale to bending the knees, arms out to the side, and an exhale to straightening our legs, floating the arms alongside us. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. A few more. If your tempo is different than mine, celebrate it. That's great. We all dance to our own rhythm. And next time you are in your bent-legged position, stay there. Thumbs to the sky. Feel an uplift of your low belly. So we're not going into a crazy back bend. We want to keep that spirit of mountain pose alive from the waist up. Take your right thumb to the sky and then just pat yourself on the back with your right hand. Turn your left thumb down and bring the back of your hand to the small of your back. If ever you want or need to straighten and rebend your legs, you're welcome to. Now keep lifting your low belly. See if there is any jutting of the chin that you can eliminate. Imagine a tangerine under your chin. And you want to keep it there without juicing it, right? Now take your arms out to the side, thumbs to the sky. Perfect time if you'd like to straighten and then rebend. Left thumb to the sky, V shape. Pat yourself on the back with that hand. Turn your right thumb down and then rest the back of your right hand on the small of your back. We've been here a while. If you want to, you can straighten and rebend, but do remember to support this by lifting your low belly. Keep your eye on our bright horizon. 2 more. Arms out to the side, thumbs to the sky. Straighten your legs, float your arms alongside you, palms face out. You thought I'd never ask. Now heel toe until you're hip distance apart. I'm going to face you. You can keep facing that long edge of your mat if you prefer. Shift your weight onto your left foot and hug that left hip into the midline as opposed to letting it collapse, which it might have the habit of doing. Create first a kickstand with your right toes onto the ground, and you can feel almost like that little squat that we just did is happening in your right hip, but tree pose is happening in your left leg. You're welcome to stay here. You can always use your hand on the back of your chair or on a wall for some assist for balance. Maybe right foot into the inseam of your left leg, the shin. It might be an adventure at some point to put your right foot into the left inseam of your thigh. Keep hugging that left hip in. Perhaps you make a V shape with your thumbs to the sky. Take a few moments. Can you see the bright horizon from this balancing point? 2 moments. Hands to your hips, or hand on the back of the chair or the wall if it's helpful. Turn your right knee forward and then step back into your mountain. Pause in your mountain for a moment. Always nice to remember that we grow our tree from our mountain, so feel into your mountain while we're here. And remember, you can use your hand on whatever's helping you to balance. Back of the chair, hand on the wall. Stand on your right leg and hug that right hip into the midline so it doesn't go collapsing. Think of your mountain pose there. Create a kickstand with your left toes now. Perfect, here. You don't have to go any further. Perhaps you place your left foot into the inseam of your shin. Maybe left foot into the inner right thigh. You'll want to really hug that hip in if you got that leg up that far. And you can spread your branches of your tree. You could do that still holding the back of your chair or using your wall. Take a few moments. If it's wobbly, it's just a windy day in your tree. That's our story and we're sticking to it. There will be windy days. Hands on your hips. Turn your left knee forward and step hip distance. Return to your mountain. Pause for a moment. We move our props with the same mindfulness with which we move around our mat in our poses. So find your 2 blocks and consider the possibility of using the seat of your chair instead. We're going to step wide in a second and do a triangle pose. So if you know that you like to use any certain prop for those, you know your setup. With blocks, it will be at the far edge, the far long edge of your mat and not underfoot. So that's a big part of it. If you're using your chair, scoot your chair so it's halfway down your mat and you have access to the seat for your hand. Once you have all of that in place, arms out to the side wide, thumbs to the sky. Step wide, we'll do our little measurement once again of ankles underneath wrists, thereabout. A lot of times it needs an adjustment, which is fine. This is our starting point. Turn your right foot so that your right foot, turning your right hip, your right foot is facing the short edge of your mat. And it's important to make that distinction. It's happening at the hip, like the tree pose we just did. Cheat your left heel at a 45-degree angle. Bend your front knee and just make sure that you've got a straight line, a vertical line from your knee to your ankle. We'll go dynamically, thumbs to the sky, a V-shaped straightening. Let this be the inhale. Exhale, bend your front knee. Inhale, V-shape, arms overhead. Exhale, bend your front knee. Inhale, thumbs to the sky, V-shape. And then bend your front knee and pause. Imagine that there's a magnet on your right thigh bone and it's moving that right thigh bone towards the right side of your mat as opposed to letting it collapse to the left side. Stand in your mountain. Anytime you'd like, you can lower your arms and bring them back up or even place them hands on hips. Now take your left hand light as a feather onto your left thigh and your right thumb to the sky. Just ever so slightly slide your left hand down your left thigh. You're not heavy on that hand. We don't want sideways pressure on your knee. And we're not letting this create some tension between the shoulders and the ears. It's just a beautiful reverse warrior. Some people call this a peaceful warrior. How about that for inspiration? Now keep the upper body just as it is. So your left hand is on your thigh, your right thumb is to the sky, and press into your right big toe mound to straighten your front leg in this little bit of a careful reverse warrior, but now it's called reverse triangle. And speaking of triangle, come upright, thumbs to the sky. Now this is not going to be a side bend on this side, it's a hinge at the hips. So really let your left hip lift up. Think of like a little karate chop cut into the right hip, and reach out with your right hand as far as you can go, and then either find the seat of your chair or find your tall block on the outside of your right foot, left thumb to the sky. Really important that we keep it that hinge at the hip. Spin your inner upper arms away from each other and create some space between your shoulders and your ears. Find some special oomph into your right big toe mound, which turns on the muscles in your feet and in turn inspires the muscles in your calves to turn on and all the way up your leg and into the whole pose. A few more moments here in our triangle shape. See if you can make your bottom ribs as long as your top ribs. Then you'll know that you're not going into what's called side flexion. Now, options are a good thing, and you get to choose. One option is to keep your hand on the seat of your chair or on this tall block, and then bend your front knee so we're back into that warrior two status with our legs, but we have either right hand on a block, right hand on the seat of the chair, or you can do our usual karate chop of the right forearm across the thigh. They're all good. Keep the left thumb to the sky. So be careful that we don't collapse. I know we're in these poses kind of a long simmer today. So if you need a break or if you feel that things are starting to kind of collapse, give yourself that break so that we keep it clean and conscious. Take a look down and then come up into warrior two, thumbs to the sky. Straighten your front leg. If you are using your block, move your block carefully off the side of your mat so it's not going to be underfoot. And then all of us will turn our toes to face the long edge of our mat and get situated for our second side. Turn your left leg out so your left foot faces the short edge of your mat. Cheat your right heel at a 45-degree angle, thumbs to the sky as you reach out to the side. Bend your front knee. Our spacing might need a little attention. We kind of moved into different poses, so make sure it's that vertical line. Inhale, thumbs to the sky, V-shape, front leg straightens. Exhale, bend your front knee. Inhale, thumbs to the sky, V-shape. Exhale, bend your front knee. Inhale, thumbs to the sky, front leg is straight. Bend your front knee. Pause. Stay with the knee bent. Imagine the magnet now taking your left thigh bone over to the left. Sometimes the second side reminds you that you've had your arms up for a while during the first side, so you can always bring your hands to hips or lower your arms. Just a couple moments here. Now keep that left thumb to the sky and gently take your right hand onto your right thigh. Remember, not a lot of pressure and not a lot of bend, just a little bit. So left thumb to the sky, a little bit of a reverse warrior, just gently, slowly, 2 moments. And then without pressuring any side pressure on your right knee, straighten your front leg, slowly, slowly pressing into that left big toe mound. Now notice how much space there is on the left side of the waist. Keep as much of that as you can. Start to hinge at your hip. So left hip is a hip hinge. Reach with your left hand either for the seat of your chair or for your block. Right thumb to the sky. And then just a moment ago I said, hey, notice how much space is happening in your right ribs. Can you find that in your fabric and bring that into this shape? We'll linger here, and there's oomph in your right big toe mound. You feel the muscles of your foot, your calves, all the way up your left leg. And if it's bothering your neck, you can always look down. Maybe it feels better to you to look sideways. A few might look up. Your call. Remember that you have options and that you get to explore them. You might keep your hand on your block or on the seat of your chair. We'll rebend that left knee. If you prefer our usual fare of forearm across the thigh, perfect. A few moments here. Keep breathing. Now look down, because I think it kind of gives us an idea of where we are. Try to keep that knee pointed over what would be like the second toe, right? Left knee over second toe so it doesn't collapse as we come upright. Thumbs to the sky, warrior two. Straighten your front leg. Turn all toes to face that long edge of your mat, and then heel toe, until your hip distance landed in your mountain. This next pose is the one that I recommend something taller than your tall blocks, because I don't want your head to get lower than your hips, and I think it will be hard not to let that happen if you're using blocks. So let's take care of our props. If your blocks are strewn about your mat, move them off to the side. Find your chair or the arm of your sofa, anything that's about the height of the seat of your chair. I'm going to actually move my chair so that I don't turn my back on you for the first side, and you will face your chair, right foot facing forward, left hand onto your hip. Now think about the triangle pose that we just did. We're basically going to do a triangle using our right hand on the seat of our chair and letting that right hip hug underneath us and our left leg float off the ground behind us. So aim your right hand, bend your right knee, hug that right hip underneath like the tree pose that we did and like that triangle. And then keep your left hand on your hip so you kind of feel what's going on there. You can look down, you can look sideways. Pause for a moment and consider the possibility, left thumb to the sky. You don't need to, you can keep your hand on your hip. Are you breathing? That part you need to do. Now, if you took your left thumb to the sky, take your left hand onto your hip and notice that your hip is now going to turn down towards your chair, left foot hip distance from right, stand into your mountain. Let me do a magic trick to move my chair to the other side so I don't turn my back on you. And then face your chair in your mountain pose. You're going to situate your left hand on the seat of your chair. So bend both knees a little so there's a softness in our setup. Right hand on your hip, left hand onto the seat of your chair. Start to extend your right leg back behind you as you stand on your left leg and kick that leg behind you. Hug your hip underneath you. Maybe right thumb to the sky. Look wherever you need to, so gaze down if that helps the balance and or your neck. Last couple moments, just like this. Now turn your right hand under your hip, turn all toes to face down, step hip distance, hands on your hips, slowly upright, and back into our mountain. You can use your chair, you can use your blocks situated differently now. So tall blocks on either side of you, not underfoot, so important. Mountain pose in between your blocks, maybe in front of your seat, if that's helpful. A half salutation, inhale, arms out to the side, thumbs to the sky. Exhale, hinge at your hips and take your hands to your thighs. Inhale, traction, some length through your spine, and then either hands onto the seat of your chair or hands onto your tall blocks. Step your left foot back so that you are wide enough apart that it feels okay. And there's one more prop you might want, which is to slide your folded blanket or towel underneath your knee as we lower that back knee. So first you can bring it to the ground, but if you need that or want that, slide it underneath so it's a little bit more kind to your back knee. We've got length through our spine. Both blocks go on the inside of your right foot. Step your right foot a little bit to the right. So we're setting up a humble warrior stretch. It's such a good one. Extend through your spine. Perfect to stay just like this. I like my back toes curled under. You might consider that for your knee and for the stability of it. It may be that you come onto your forearms on your tall blocks. And if you do, you make sure that the length in your spine is still here, so it's not rounding. You can also just walk your hands out a little further on your seat, but I want you to keep that same long spine, right? And you'll actually feel it more as a hip stretch if you keep that length through your spine, and it won't be what's called flexion in your spine where it actually doesn't become as effective where we want it to be. So humble warrior, we'll snuggle into it. I'll be quiet. We'll be still. Soften your jaw. Soften your gaze. Soften your hands. Option to stay just like this, which is perfect. Last week, I introduced the possibility of a single pigeon pose, which is not for everyone. If you've got things going on with your knees, if your hips are super tight, it might just not be the answer. It doesn't mean you're bad at this stuff at all. It means that you are the expert, which makes you good at this. You are the most expert at your own body of anyone. That's exciting stuff. So you can stay with the humble warrior or come up onto your hands, take one of your blocks and put it down onto the ground. Think seated side saddle with the outer right hip and sit bone onto your block. And then you'll bend your knee, your right knee, and start to scoot that left leg behind you. You can use your other hand, your hands on the other block, because you're trying to turn your left thigh to face the ground a bit. Most of us will feel a little bit tempted to roll out to the right. You'll do your best. I find it helpful to curl my back toes under, to just come in towards the middle. But nothing feels prickly or electrical. And you've got a really nice stretch for the front of your back leg, which is true of those of you in humble warrior also. So you do you. Nothing wrong with staying in that first option. Just a couple more moments here. Now, if you're in the single pigeon, lean quite a bit to your right so that you can free that right leg out. Come to hands and knees for all of us. So scoot your blocks off to the side. As you come up out of your humble warrior, hands and knees, we'll pause. Very carefully place your shoulders over your wrists, and you might be kneeling on your blanket. That's a good idea. A little bit of an arch in your low back. Let that be an inhale, a little bit of a rounding as you exhale. Just one more time like that. A little bit of an arch and a little bit of a round. Set up your second side from here. So you can come kneeling if that's the easiest way to transition. Left foot forward. Collect your blocks, bring them to the inside of your left foot. And first just be on your hands. Remember, you can be using your chair here, so hands on the seat of your chair. And then long spine in our humble warrior. A few moments in this stretch, even if you're going to venture into the other stretch. And if you decide to either walk your hands further forward on your seat or to bring your forearms onto your blocks, it's not rounding the spine, it's elongating the spine. Most of us are going to stay here. It's probably the best idea. It might be that you come up onto your hands, that you use your blocks to help you to bend your left knee, And then sit on your block. Your right thigh is spinning to face the ground, and you'll just keep your hands on that tall block. And you'll probably be tempted to lean to your left. It's not that it's terrible to do that, and some of us need to so that it's not too intense on the left knee. But you're thinking a little bit about spinning that right thigh to face the ground. We'll take a few more moments here. All of us come out cautiously. Use your hands on your blocks. Lean over to your left if you're in this single pigeon variation. Use your blocks to situate yourself onto hands and knees again. So just let it be that you come to hands and knees from where you are. It may not be the most graceful thing we've ever done together. That's okay. Now we'll sit in a wide leg seat. So your folded blanket might want an additional fold. And then when you sit in your wide leg seat, be at the front of your sit bones so it doesn't feel like you're way back rounding. And sometimes some bend in your knees is going to do the trick. You might like your blocks on either side of your hips to bring your hands to so that you can sit tall. If you want a little bit more sensation and you really feel like it's right for you, hinge at your hips and walk just a little out, not very far. Curl your toes back. Find that length through your spine. Couple of moments here. Sorry. My dog pose has changed. She's just protecting me. Now, if you walked it forward, walk yourself back in. All of us will lean back a bit and put our feet on our mat so that we can come off of our props. Again, not necessarily the most graceful, but off of our perch we come. And then find your way to lie back, preparing for our Shavasana final meditation. Snuggle your shoulders underneath. You could keep your knees knock-kneed or extend one leg and then the other, and fall into the floor with your eyes closed, maybe your eyes covered. You're welcome and even encouraged to stay here in Shavasana for as long as you'd like. If you're ready to find your way back, you can reach your arms and legs away from each other, bend your knees, and carefully place your feet on your mat, and then roll to one side. Use the strength of your arms to come up to any sort of comfortable seat You could even sit back on your perch. And then with your palms up or down, just take a moment and notice how hip happy you are. Gives you a little mobility as you walk your yoga practice off your mat and out into your life. I'm Andrea. Thank you so much for practicing with me. I look forward to us doing it again together soon.